Your life is formed and influenced by the folks that you reside with, work with, and hang around with. People are definitely the only biggest source of influence in each other's lives. If you think that of your life as a story, the people in your life are the characters within the story. A bit like you'll learn from characters in any good novel. You'll learn many things from the characters in your own story. I met a lady once that kept a journal specifically about things she was learning from the people or characters in her life. She had just spent a summer backpacking in Europe, and therefore the pages of her journal were crammed with biographies of the characters that she met that summer. Some were more influential than others, of course, but she was intentional about learning from even characters that showed up in her story for just a couple of minutes. I used to be so impressed by her commitment to learning from living, and that I was inspired to make an identical journal only for the characters in my very own life. Since starting my very own characters journal, I even have learned more from people than I ever thought possible. I started the journal by listing the most characters that were frequently a neighborhood of my days. These included my relations, closest friends, and associates that I interacted with often. I wanted to form this list of main characters, because sometimes the people we are closest to are the toughest ones to be intentional about learning from. By having an inventory within the front of my journal, I used to be reminded of them often. My journey of learning from the characters in my life has been simple and yet profound. I take a couple of minutes at the top of every day to record things I even have observed or learned from others. Sometimes I see characteristics in other characters that I would like to form a neighborhood of my very own character. Other times I see things in folks that I would like to warn myself against ever becoming. Regardless of the case, I'm careful to watch the planet around me for love or money I'd study living better. For instance, a couple of months ago I met a lady that had the loveliest ability to inform engaging stories. I recorded her talent in my character's journal that night with a special note that I would like to find out the way to tell stories better. At some point, my father told me a story about his childhood. My character's journal that night told of the newfound respect I had gained for my father by learning more about his life. A number of the simplest lessons of my life have come from the most characters in my life. I might never have learned or remembered many of those lessons without keeping track of them during a character's journal. Consider starting a journal of the characters that are a neighborhood of your story. You'll be glad you probably did.